Hello and good evening, everybody. Yeah, you are back with the crew, and thank you so much for spending this wonderful evening. And what a celebratory evening we have for ourselves here tonight. I have the one and only Mr. Rob Cunningham, brother. It has been way too long that you and I do a show together. We've talked about it forever and ever and ever. We did the one show at Las Vegas, I don't know, a month or two ago. And it was such a pleasure to be with you. And I feel like I'm interviewing you, but I think it's a two-way street here tonight, isn't it?
Brother, hey, there's no rank, there's no none of that stuff, man. We're just two brothers talking here, and I'm honored to be on your show, man. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It always is. You know, folks, I have to tell you guys, I'll tell you a quick little story. When for the very first time I met Rob in person, now obviously we'd all known him from Twitter and the rest of it, now X, obviously, but I'd read a bunch of his posts and I thought, wow, what a brilliant mind, you know, and you don't know what anybody looks like. And you walked up to me at my party 2 years ago and you were talking to me, hey, Allan, you know, as if I should have known who you were. And I had never seen your face before. And I thought, this is absolutely the deepest, one of the kindest, genuine souls I've ever met. And you walked away, and I walked over to somebody. I said, who is that? I know I probably never even told you that story. I'm like, who is that gentleman right there? And they're like, oh, my God, Allan, that's Rob Cunningham. I'm like, damn, I ran back over to you. Rob, man, it's so good to see. I didn't even know who you were in the beginning. I loved you from the start. Yeah, it was great, man.
We're kindred spirits, man. I love hanging out with you. Just that whole energy, vibration, frequency thing. You know when you know, and just glad to have you as a brother.
Yeah, same. Likewise. I'll tell you what. With people like you and I in the world, we're going to be just fine. Yeah. We're going to be. That's how I feel about you, sir. Wow, yeah, for sure.
Awful kind.
I want to start the night with all the fun stuff first.
Yeah.
How about that XRP? What do you think? What do you think's going on here, brother? How excited are you?
I am so excited on about 20 fronts, for just the future of humanity. How about let's start there? Is that good? I mean, we're going to be having an official ceremony tomorrow where a wet ink signature is going to officially flip over the money changers table. How about that? A little correlation to 2,000 years ago. I mean, we're gonna make money real again. We're gonna make money sound again. We're gonna make accounting trusted again. We're gonna make a settlement happen in seconds. We're gonna make payments move around at the speed of light for less than a penny. I mean, it's gonna change the nature of every aspect of mankind's relationship with one another, nations with nations, businesses with customers, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. I was trying, Elizabeth, brilliant attorney, my wife, her field is her field, right? And she's crypto savvy because, she and I have been in it since late 16. So we've been around the block. Good and bad, obviously. But today I was like so giddy, and she's like, what are you up to? What's happening? And she doesn't follow the court or what's going on in DC and the prices or any of that. And we're eating lunch, and I said to her, look, it's not just that XRP's right at an all-time high. It's not about price today at all for me. It's like all the shows that you and I have done, and all the research, and all the hours that you stay up late night, and everybody just calls you an idiot, And I work for some really, really big banking and high-powering people, and it's amazing what they made a mockery of my life over the last 8 years of like the credibility that I felt. Not that I need verification from anybody in government, you and I answer to one, and we don't have to worry about what those guys think actually at DC. Right. But it is sort of a slap on the back. I was trying to explain to her, But the thing that really resonated with her was when I told her this. I said, just imagine this, Elizabeth. You live in Bangladesh, wherever on the planet. And on your phone, you can have a bank account with stable coins. Just think of that. Think about having the ability to have a US dollar instead of the corruption of whatever government they live under. And actually saying, oh, I've got a, whether or not you like the man or not, a Trump dollar, which I'm hoping is going to be better in the future than the current or the old past dollars that we've had. And that really resonated with her. She was like, anywhere in the world on their phone, they're going to be able to send this like a text. And they don't need a bank account. They've got this account. And they can put their paycheck immediately into this US dollar, which is so much better than the Vietnamese dong or whatever else, wherever they might live. That was so big for me today. Really was.
Well, not only that, to take it.
What do you think of that?
To take it 10 steps further, you can be in Kenya or Bangladesh,
please,
and you have the most elaborate suite of financial services and products that any elite client Goldman Sachs has ever had on your fingertips. You can do hedging, you can do options, you can do derivatives, you can do ETFs, you can do staking, you can do lending. You can become the most powerful banker in your neighborhood, country, region, county with a cell phone connection. I mean, you don't need anything. The only thing that will limit our ability to be our own sovereign citizen, banker, wealth provider, lender, community hero, whatever it is that we need to do, the thing that can connect us to purpose and resources to accomplish that purpose is a mobile device and our brain. We don't need permission slips from anybody. You don't need a permission slip from a regulator or a governor or Gary Gensler or anybody else. We don't have to go into a Chase Manhattan Bank branch and explain why we're sending $5,000 from point A to point B. It's none of their business. We get all this intermediary out of our lives and we can go direct to source. And if we're direct with source, we go direct to source and we have one of these devices, then we can figure out how to get the resources necessary to the assignment the source gave us to accomplish. How freeing is that? How freeing is that, man? That's amazing.
We just came light years, and it's not as if it's in no disrespect, it's not as if it was Canada, which that would be great too, or whatever, Russia. It was the U.S. The U.S. did that. Like, this is really, really big. And I'm just now going over it with you in my head. And for me, I've been giddy about it all day. But like, I knew this week was coming, but I wasn't mentally prepared for what the success that we had. I keep thinking that we're 2 and 4 years ago, that fight that we were in, that battle of like constantly being one step forward and 2 steps back is just amazing. I just absolutely love where we're at today. It's so good. And I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm with you. I do not like regulation. I don't really care much for Washington, D.C. I don't like politicians or politics at all. I don't really talk about them a lot on my show. But it is nice to at least be acknowledged that, hey, this is technology that we can't refuse, number one. But number two, the other thing for me is it gives us here's the racetrack, right? Now we have the tech minds. The brilliant people in our space. There are unbelievable, young, incredible, not just the programmers, but the people that want to build better and bigger and make it fair for everybody on the planet equally, right? Once we know where this racetrack is now we make the car faster and better, and we go around all their regulation, and we do it through a middleman. No, we're not doing a middleman. We're driving the car now. Everybody's behind the wheel, and I absolutely Love this for mankind.
And how
And yet-
about this? And how
Go
about
ahead.
this? Everybody that's behind the steering wheel, the
I know.
code, the stable coin, the XRP utility token, the HBAR, XD, whatever's moving around that racetrack, the racetrack doesn't detect age, sex, religion, credit score, net worth, who you voted for. None of that shit. It doesn't matter. Excuse my
Doesn't
French.
matter.
None of that crap matters. You know, I
Nope.
mean, why did we have an anti-CBDC surveillance act today? For several reasons. Number one, what I do with my money is none of your business. I'm not supposed to have the big government looking over my spending patterns and data mining where I shop or my travel patterns, or none of their business. Secondly, you can't have a CBDC if you don't have a CB.
I know. Yeah.
If we don't have an NGO central bank that's the mothership that can just print money out of thin air and then track and trail us and indebt us in slavery, money, fake money, and use fractional reserve lending and charge usury interest. What do we think Ripple's around for? What's the Ripple Bank for? What's the Ripple Custody for? What's DLT and blockchain for? It's to cut out all the middlemen, friction, and control, which is profit for them and slave chains for us.
Yeah.
Right? All that's being whacked out. And so it's really hard to have a central bank digital currency when you're sending Jerome Powell packing. And there's
right.
Right.
I got to tell you this one. This has been, I've been talking about my people that follow my show heard me say this a million times, but here's where I think this whole thing's going. And I'm just going to 40,000 foot it for us all real quick. I think it's going to be more like a TBDC. It's going to be a treasury bank, digital currency. And we're going to eliminate the Fed. Something,
Amen.
Ron Paul's been talking about doing for how long.
Of course.
And we do not need it. For number one, it's not necessary. But I'm even getting to the point, like if this goes on too much longer with Jay Powell, I actually see enough of a stablecoin market to where the Treasury, not necessarily just Donald Trump, the Treasury says, Federal Reserve, we're just not going to sell you any of these. They're not for sale to you.
You're not credit worthy because you have too much debt. You have too much debt. We don't trust you.
You're no longer good for it. And frankly, we don't need your problems. We don't need you telling us whether or not we can raise interest rates. And honestly, what have you done for us lately? Like the whole concept of maybe in 1913 we needed it. I don't think we did back then even. But the point of the matter is, I don't believe we need them going forward. The people of the world are going to support the treasuries. And I really believe this to be true. I think we're going to go somewhere along the lines of anywhere between 5 to 25% is going to be hard-cased crypto. Let's call it an index, the top 10, whatever, pick your coins. And that 10%, we'll call it, or 25% will be owned in the coins. The other 75% will actually be treasuries for the US government, right? So what's the valuations on that? Where's that going to go? Who's not going to want to purchase that? And we won't call them bonds any longer. We'll call them US, stable treasury coins. And when anybody can hold it, it's going to skyrocket.
Can I validate your point? This is my optics and underwrite everything that you just said.
Let's do it.
The single most rigorous, highest bar to cross in the world of regulation in the monetary world is the New York Department of Financial Services. Ripple Standard Custody has already passed that bar. They are regulated and supervised under the conditions of the New York Department of Financial Services. This is a group of people that have blockchain people and finance people and cryptography people that go and teach and coach senators and congressmen and the SEC and the CFTC and around the world. They have a staff of 60 or 70 people. This is the most preeminent governmental regulatory. It's the home, New York. Banking. I mean, it's the banking capital of the world.
Of course.
Right? So if America's the greatest horsepower engine of the world's economy and New York is the center for that, then the New York Department of Financial Services is the peak. Okay. So what does that mean? They approved standard custody, Ripple, production, and minting of RLUSD under the conditions there's at least 100% or more tier 1 assets backing the RLUSD stablecoin. And on a monthly basis, there has to be a legitimately audited financial statement submitted to the New York Department of Financial Services proving the soundness that there's 100% collateral tier 1 assets behind every RLUSD issued. Now, what if somehow by some magical potion, well, let me, before I go there, if you have a 1-to-1, 100% collateral tier 1 asset, treasury notes, treasury bills, gold, platinum, whatever those tier 1 assets happen to be right now, it's just the US dollar and gold, right?
That's right.
You can't do fractional reserve lending. Nope. You have to have 1-for-1. You can't do usury interest, and you can't just print RLUSDs out of thin air because they have to be collateralized 100%. So if you kill fractional reserve lending and you have a sound, legitimate RLUSD, and all of this is happening under the regulatory authority of the United States Treasury, the Secretary of the Treasury that's in the executive branch that reports to the president, now you don't need a Federal Reserve anymore because you've got your own mechanism. You have your own country's bank. Yep. You have sound money. And if Donald Trump has said, I want the U.S. to be the crypto capital of the world, the dollar to remain the dominant product, and everybody wants dollars, then it comes down to one definition. What does the definition of stablecoin mean? Stablecoin must mean the same thing in all 200 nations. And in any company that issues a stablecoin, whether you're Amazon or Uber or Apple or Microsoft, if you're going to issue a stablecoin, it's going to have to fit the definition of 100% collateralization and auditing, not attestations, but full audits, or it's not a stablecoin.
Or it's not stable.
And so all of a sudden, the Treasury, when it comes time to print out notes, has 10,000 clients that want to back their stable coins and buy treasuries from the Treasury. So now your market just exploded for buyers of your treasuries instead of it just being 50 countries. And if they get mad at you, they can threaten to torpedo our economy because we only have 50 buyers instead of having 10,000 buyers.
So the only, so perfectly put. That's exactly where my head has been for years. And I explain it to people, not quite as eloquently as you just explained it, but I do. And people look at me and they're like, you're out of your mind. That will never work. And I'm like, I just do the math. Math's one of my favorite subjects. You know, I'm a bit of an economist since I was in junior high school. Right. Like, this is easy for me to figure out. I know they've figured it out. If I can figure it out, they figured it out, right? So it's not that I want a global coin or I'm not a globalist, but you and I need something that says, hey, this man worked hard for his hours and he determined that this was worth the effort that he put in. That should not diminish every hour of his life, the rest of his life with inflation. And this has to stop. And if we can get that to happen, the rewards of every man's efforts going forward is going to escalate this entire thing. And then you bring in true, real positive deflation. In other words, every dime you earn and every dime you save actually goes up in value. And everything with AI and many other things, your life always gets cheaper and more blessed, because there's absolutely no lack of abundance on this planet, as you and I have discussed and we know. Now it's time that the Fed gets out of the way. And the other alternative, there's two ways to go about getting rid of these guys, right? The other way is, I like him, we'll just bring the interest rates down to, I don't know, minus. We'll bring them down to minus, and we'll just write you a check. Or we'll just refinance all 38 trillion of it, and you owe us. How about that? And then in that day, they'll abolish themselves.
How about this? How about this?
Either one way or the other.
How about option 3? How about if they pass a law? How about if a law gets passed that says the United States will no longer engage in bartering or transacting with anything other than stable money that is the equivalent of a stable coin? And the Fed, if you'd like to participate in our economy, show us your monthly audits and let us see what's backing your issuance of what you call a dollar, which we know is a Federal Reserve note. It is not a dollar. It is a debt instrument. It's a slave tool. And if the law says, I'm sorry, we can only deal with stable coins or the equivalent of a stable coin with 100% collateral that's inspected on a monthly basis, and we've never inspected the Fed because they know that there's nothing there, they're not going to agree, because they can't agree to let us to audit the nothingness behind their printed out of thin air piece of paper. And I'm sorry, we would love to do business with you, but the law makes it illegal for us to do any business with you, Mr. Fed man. So good luck. It's been nice knowing you,
I believe the new laws are written that, anti-money laundering, so we can't do business with them because they clearly have laundered money forever. Like that's provable easily, isn't it? I mean, simple. I love
the lifeblood of this system, Allan, is infinite money printing. The debt-based fiat money system, the central banking business model, can only sustain itself by ever increasing the debt. Deflation kills it. It has to continually issue more and more and more money to recycle the supply until it gets to a point and it pops. And in the past, they would create a war or a diversion or a new, World War II, and then a World Reserve and a Bretton Woods, and then a come off the gold standard, and then a petrodollar standard, and then the great financial crisis happened, and they basically dropped interest rates to zero for 12 years, And then, of course, Trump gets in. They got to raise them to 5% because they hate that guy, So, I mean, interest rates are a weapon, but the bottom line is, if we don't have an appetite for whatever reason of Federal Reserve notes, and they can't continue to print and create more debt, they die by that very process. The system only sustains itself by a continual issuance of debt, because it's a Ponzi. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Completely. So, I don't know. Did you hear? I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you hear about the 401k thing that he's supposedly going to sign tomorrow?
$9 trillion.
Okay. This is what we need. Okay. Okay. You know how they've ignored us for, I don't know, a decade in my life. I've been in crypto for a decade now. It seems crazy. Yeah. My friends just think I'm completely out of my mind. But what's going to happen when all the 401k, RAs are going to be like, what, wait a minute. I can do what? And what are the returns when? And now it's going to be their fiduciary duty to get the highest rate of return for their client. And now that's where, excuse me, Mr. Deaton, that's where you should have been focusing your time, is what happened to us XRP people in the last bull run. Why are you not working on that class action suit for the 69,000 of us that you ran your campaign on, that you were helping all these people out, which he did, and I thank him for all the thousands of hours that he put in. But it's like, why what we get no recognition. They can't deny it now. Now we're looking at 401k. I'm sorry. I don't know what that's going to mean to I Trust Capital and the rest of these companies.
Oh my God.
It's going to go ballistic.
I think besides Ripple, you're probably looking at Uphold and I Trust Capital that probably have the two greatest concentrations of XRP on the planet besides Ripple's escrow,
Yeah. Well, I was it you and I think it was you and I. No, I did an interview in I did so many of them. I did an interview in Las Vegas, and we were saying that I thought, and I'm sure you're going along with this, I'd say within 5 years, Ripple will be the most valuable company in the world.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
100%.
And people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that. I'm like, you have any idea what they're doing? I still like Tesla. There's a lot going on with Tesla that is just so visionary, but Ripple is so much bigger of a player than anybody even has any idea.
Allan, and when I try to get people to even let themselves go there, I explain to them that in essence, if you were to describe what is Ripple, it is basically it's a global blockchain infrastructure company. Okay. And if you were to take it one step further, you would use the example that what they're doing now with payments is their Kindle service. Guess what? There's 1,000 other things they can do with the Ripple business model after they perfect global payment transfers and payments around the world. Their blockchain infrastructure company can be applied to 1,000 different things. And so if you think they're big and valuable now with their escrow of XRP and the revenue they're going to make from their software connecting banks and moving money all around the world. And I did a tweet yesterday or a post yesterday, and I want to, maybe this will help, your listeners and your audience who, we're all true believers, but we also are surrounded by people that think we're nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you paint a picture for the old Mark Twain thing? You take a complicated subject and make it as simple as possible so people can understand it. Right. So here goes. I'm 63, I've been around the block a while. And I remember back in the day, we had bag phones and it was $1.35 a minute. And you had an antenna on the back of your car and you thought you were cool because you had a phone and, $1.35 a minute, prime time, 95 cents a minute, non-prime, right?
Yeah. So
the bags were clunky and uncool as hell and, heavy, and you had to haul them around and there's a cord attached to the bag. And it was nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
But what happened? All of a sudden we went from the bag phone land to $35 a month, flat rate, unlimited talk, text, and data. Now, what happens when you cut those fees to something that was virtually free for most people? The cost went down, the adoption went up, the cell phone minutes exploded, the revenue of the service providers went through the roof. They made more money than they've ever made before. And the byproduct of everyone abundantly using this service and getting online and talking and chatting and collaborating and communicating, the GDP grew. The economy grew around our interconnectivity, our relational communications, our ability to feel like this is so free, I can use it anytime I want. 24/7, 365, we were connected to data, text, and voice.
Yeah.
Okay? Now let's apply that to money. Let's get rid of
deregulate money.
Instead of taking all of that cost, instead of the bag phone world of money where it cost us $10 to move money, it's now going to cost us 10 cents or less than a penny. Okay. Instead of it taking a day or 6 days to go across border, it takes 3 seconds. Instead of it being 20, banker hours, it's 24/7, 365. The ability to move money is going to be almost free, tantamount to cell phone minutes. The utilization of money is going to explode like cell phone mobile minutes did. The revenue to the service providers is going to explode. The economy is going to explode. Money is going to move without any second thought. The gig worker in India can charge, 25 cents a minute and it can stream into his crypto wallet while he's on the clock programming. Or the farmer in Kenya can send some produce to Kentucky. Money can fly all over the world like light at next to nothing. The wealth bucket's going to be turned upside down from the centralized top to level playing field. It's going to come back to us. And if we think that we had a technological explosion when mobile phones went from bags to flat rate plans, multiply that times about 1,000, and that's the kind of wealth experience every person in every nation the world over is going to enjoy.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like exactly what we were talking about earlier. Nobody know, all these people that have all these 401s and all the rest of it, they have no idea that the money weapon that's been wielded on them their entire life long. Right. And again, whether or not you like the man or not, but it's very obvious to this man what he's doing right now in that office, and what they're getting rid of is the weaponization of money. People, I was talking to a young man today, Clay, I love you, brother. He and I were talking, and everyone's like, well, when's he going to get rid of the swamp? And when's he going to do the rest? You know what? When you're dealing with what you just mentioned, which is getting rid of the weaponization and the slavery of money, the freeing of lives and souls, and the work and the hard work of every man and woman and child on this planet, do you think that we might go into a boom decade or 10
or 100
or 100? And I hear people tell me this all the time. Oh, Allan, no, we're going into a depression and a recession. And I said, what's the matter with you? Are you? I just want to shake him by the camera. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't even get, where's the math? Show me the math. Well, you know, every dollar has to be accounted for it. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I love Austrian economics. Trust me. I'm a student my whole life.
Judy Shelton.
That's right. Exactly. You know, but I struggle with these people that are telling me, well, you know, we've just printed too much money and all this. And I'm laughing going, there's not enough money. Do you understand that? There's not enough money. How do I know that? Because not everybody's wealthy. And until we get there and we figure out how to get everybody there, and so we don't have to spend our lives being in debt slavery, then we don't have enough money out there, right? I mean, come on. It's so simple.
While we're live here, I just wanted to see $3.59. So
I love it.
It could be a God wink while we're on the phone here, Mr. Allan. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Well, when you and I get together, you know, there's some energy in the room, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We know that to be true.
Well, let me paint another picture, and this, everyone, I'm going to tell you a story, and everyone gets to file this in the coincidence folder or the oh my God folder. Okay.
Well, there are no coincidences, and there is a God. So I like where this is going already.
All right, here we go. So this gentleman named Donald Trump that was mocked and ridiculed and laughed at, and all the spigots were turned at him when he first ran in 2025. He was a joke. He was a huckster. He was an orange man. He'd been divorced twice and married 3 times. And, you know, he's a game show host and a bankrupt, a failed businessman, a loser, a philanderer, you name it. They threw the kitchen sink at this man. He got elected anyway. Okay. He got sworn in on January the 20th of 2017. 13 days later, he signed an executive order 13772. The executive order was about 7 corporate. He ordered a report. I want the plan and the outline, the detailed plan of a modernized, brand new monetary system. And these 7 core principles must be held to the highest standards and be met in everything that comes out in that report.
I don't believe I've heard this.
Allan, the executive order 13772 had these 7 points. In July of 2018, a 225-page report came out outlining every single law that's being signed into law this week. Okay, the 7 points from January the 3rd were included in the 225-page report signed by Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Craig Phillips, who went on to work as an advisor at Ripple about 3 months later. Included in that report were XRP and XLM. Included in this modern financial system architecture rebuild is DLT, blockchain, atomic settlement, sound money, all the things that those 7 core principles were they weren't optional. I mean, you had to adhere to all of them. You couldn't violate any of them.
Yeah.
Here comes the report. And today, this week, crypto week, we're signing them all into actual law. My contention is he didn't just pull those 7 data points out of thin air and go, oh, lucky me, look at this. 8 years later, 8.5 years later, we just happen to be passing legislation that syncs up just like this with the executive order I signed 12 days into office. And you think he just came up with those on that day, or had he been thinking about a year before or 6 months before? So coincidence that we have a brand new monetary system, coincidence that every entity, every owned NGO, the media industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, the money industrial complex, the academia industrial complex have come after Donald Trump hammer and tong for 9 years to destroy this man and character assassinate this man and get rid of all of his followers and turn the world upside down because he's an incompetent, idiotic orange man, or maybe because he was threatening their monopoly of control. And here we are today, from that executive order he signed in 2017 to signing every single thing that is a derivative from those 7 data points into law this week.
Yeah.
So if you'll put that in a coincidence bucket, go right ahead, make yourself happy.
There are no such thing as coincidence. So, I'm just going to go with that one right there. And to add to that, stop and think about we have videotape of, I'm sure everybody's seen it recently, of him talking about tariffs 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The man understands math. I don't know if you heard with all the crypto news, there was a guy, it was a fantastic interview, and he was an economist from Germany, and it was translated. I happened to be watching. I was like, what are they talking about? And they're saying, oh, we need to start doing tariffs with the rest of the European nations. I was like, look what these Germans have figured out with Trump pulled off. And I think we're up to $600 billion already, and we're not even fully implemented.
I mean, RLUSD didn't come live until December of 2024, right? We're like 7 months into this sort of thing. Allan, let me ask you and your audience, if all of a sudden, let's just say that we actually had the gold in Fort Knox, or they moved it to another, military base, or it's in the Philippines, or it's underneath the Pentagon. I mean, who knows where the gold might be? Let's just assume that maybe they're holding back on us. Maybe they took some back from the Vatican. Maybe they got 10x more than we thought. And maybe it goes to $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce. And all of a sudden, you can just point your cybercomputer to the inventory, wherever that inventory happens to exist, and that satisfies the backing of RLUSDs. And all of a sudden, they need $10, $15 trillion in RLUSDs, and it's backed by the collateral that we can point to, and it passes the New York Department of Financial Services standards for one-to-one backing. And all of a sudden, we have trillions and trillions of real US dollars instead of fake fiat notes. Mm-hmm. Over a weekend, we could have $30 trillion in RLUSDs floating around the world. And RLUSDs are digital native to the DLT blockchain that can then move around the world. And everybody can have the King dollar in their little mobile device from Kenya to Kentucky to Japan. And now all of a sudden, we have the collateral, we have the money, we have the regulation, we have the new form of digital transportable wealth, backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, because all of this is happening under the auspices of the Treasury Department. The Treasury regulates the New York Department of Financial Services. That's right. All of the issuance of money per per our Constitution.
Well, he also signed that on the way out the door last term. He was trying to get rid of the Fed back then. I know you know that. So, okay. So the question mark, the one big question mark, what you just said right there, is what's going to happen when they actually get a Fed charter? And I'm talking about Ripple, because you know they're applying for one.
Right.
What happens when you can tap into the Fed? Because I don't like the Fed. I don't like what's going on with the Fed. I understand why they're doing it, because they think it might survive. I'm not in that camp, but
Right.
I see why they're playing both sides of the fence. What do you think their intentions are long term on that? What do you think?
You know, I don't know the Federal Reserve name. You know how they use the word dollar, and it's a lie when they were referring to the Federal Reserve note.
No, that's right.
What if the Federal Reserve is just a basket of technologies instead of an actual issuer of assets? What if it's a basket of ISO standards and interchanges and technologies and regulation, and they keep the name the Federal Reserve, but we already know the Fed reports up underneath the Treasury because of an executive order in March of 2020.
Yep.
Remember the New York Times came out with an article said, meet your new Fed chairman, Don Trump.
Yep.
You know, so that hasn't changed. It wasn't. Why wouldn't President Otto Penn change that back? That's a question for another show, maybe.
Maybe.
No, maybe.
Smarter people than you and I. Yeah.
But the point is if the Federal Reserve is an NGO, and it is,
yeah,
how can you have a constitutional republic with a non-government organization managing your monetary system?
You can't.
You simply can't. So we have to stop telling ourselves the lies and believe in the lies, getting back to first principles, getting back to what it means to be a constitutional republic, and let's stop acting like the emperor's dressed beautifully when the emperor has no clothes.
That's right. Well, I don't think you and I have talked about this, but I happen to have a couple of pretty decent little connections to a couple of companies, one in particular. And they keep telling me that not only are they getting, now earlier we mentioned that New York is the financial capital of the world. Well, let's just say this group of people is determined to make sure that that isn't the case very soon from now. 361. Love it.
We're getting there. Keep talking, Allan. Talk faster.
People aren't going to let us get off the air tonight. They're going to be, no, don't stop. We've waited so long for this.
Oh, man.
But like this group in particular, well, you already know this, but they're building the new crypto exchange in Texas.
Okay.
And I said, now when, I keep hearing about this, and you know who the players are involved in it. And I said, how long? And they said, well, it's not a matter of building it. It's a matter of all the pieces want to be in place, connected in all the background, so that we don't have to open the place in beta. We just plug and play and go. And I said, oh, got it. So you know what plug and play is? And the phone went quiet, right? Like, well, there's a lot to be determined. Okay. All right. I hear you. I caught you, but, all right. I get it.
I'll let you off the hook.
Well, I'll let you go. But so in other words, you've got all this figured out, but it was fun. And I'm telling you, it couldn't happen in a better state. It just has got to get out of LA. That Southern District of New York is, whoa.
You mean you don't think that
no,
Clayton being at the Southern District of New York is a good thing?
You know what? I have to tell you this. As everybody knows here, my wife is an attorney, and we were laughing when we heard that the court case, the XRP case, was in the Southern District. We're like, oh, we're done for. There is no justice and no law in that courtroom. That whole district is just. I thought they were going to string us up. I really did. and we were lucky to get out of there with our skins. I'm still happy as I'll never forget. What was it? July 13th, right? Judge Torres.
Yes, July 13th, 2023.
Thank God. Thank God. Yeah. She must have had a weak moment.
Well, or there's a powerful hidden hand at play, and there's a strategy in play, and there is a methodology that's being implemented, and there is a global coordination among key players to make this happen. And there is a inevitability of this nothing can stop what is coming kind of
That's right.
momentum. And once you know, the old book, The Tipping Point, when you get to a tipping point and things start to happen, if people don't think that this system is ready to go, how in God's name do they think that President Trump in his purple carpeted welcoming committee in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE and everywhere that he went over and was treated like royalty and called your majesty, and comes back 4 days later with $10 trillion in the bag, you know, with everybody having to get together and work together. The Abraham Accords have to stay intact. He's got to make trade deals. Everybody has to trust each other. We've got to come back, high five each other, work together. And we can do it without even having to trust one another, because our monetary system is based on trustlessness. It is what it is. It's math. It's not the checks in the mail. I'll pay you on Tuesday. No. I'm good for it. Don't worry about our insolvency or our 39 trillion or $150 trillion in debt. Don't look at that. Trust me. We're good for it. That's not the way the world works anymore.
No.
And if you need Exhibit A, go look at the $10 trillion he bagged in the Middle East and they came back.
Yeah. A lot of people forgot this because the media never even talked about it. But in his first term, when he first went to China, he's the only Western leader in the history of man that's ever been to the Forbidden City.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, but that means something. We're going to give
ding, 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 ding. What time is it, Allan? Let's call it 8:56 Eastern time, all-time high.
Well,
8:56, Allan Staples and Rob Cunningham, the godwin of XRP, live talking together, $3.64. I'm calling it new. At least we've matched the all-time high.
We've at least matched. I think we're gonna. Well, we'll leave predictions for the end of the show, maybe. But I'm really excited where we're headed. Without massive adoption, which we know is coming, I'm really looking for $15 before the end of the year.
Do you know what that number is? That 364 number is? It's for the day. It's up 18.88%. 1888. Not that 8 has a significant number or means anything.
No, of course not.
No, it doesn't mean anything. No, it's 18.88% to get us today on the day of the passage of the bill in Congress to hit a new or match a all-time high is pretty cool.
And I'm listening to this channel last couple of weeks. A friend of mine, I met him. I was interviewed by him in Las Vegas at the Bitcoin show. And he's a great guy. He's got a big channel. And so I thought, I'll watch a couple of his videos. And he got on there the other day. It ticked me off so much. He was like, basically, he's just a meme coin. It doesn't really have any function. It doesn't have anything going on for it. And it's just got the army behind it. And I'm thinking, this guy's one of the smartest guys I've met in a long time. And it's just like, no clue. Like, not a concept. And he's not a maxi. He's got like 10 other coins. And I thought, how is this guy not done the homework? How is that possible, Rob?
Well, I think it's what do they call that? Cognitive
dissonance.
You just want the feedback. You want self-reinforcing commentary that just, reiterates what you believe is to be the truth. And all you want to do is have continuous affirmation of that truth. And it's silly. I'm going to ask you to share my screen here for just a minute. I'm looking for a post that I made today. Let's see if I can find this. Goodness gracious. Let me see if I can find it. I put it
every time I share a screen, my thing drops. So I don't really like to do it, but
okay. Well, I don't want to mess things up for you if that's going to be the case, brother.
Well, can you read it to us?
Yeah. What I did
I don't want to lose us here in the stream.
No. I get it. Let me see if I can.
I'm off grid, everybody who doesn't watch my channel, and it's I'm out here in the sticks.
Yeah, but you like Starlink, right?
I do like Starlink, but if you could catch it at that moment when it's changing from satellite to satellite, it'll drop you like a hot potato out here.
Wow.
Okay, Starlink is different in every place you're at, because when I'm in another location, it's perfect all the time. So it depends on where your main hub is and how far that main hub is away. Yeah.
Right.
It matters. But what have you got for us?
I did a research, okay, and
let me try it. We might not drop.
Well, let me find it. Let me find it first so that we don't lose any kind of fallout here. And I don't know
what I really want to cover with you tonight is how do we get people now? You've dedicated your life to this, obviously. As I have recently, not recently. I guess I've had a channel of almost 5 years now. But how do we get the public? I mean, I know everybody in here. I think we have 1,800 people in the live stream. How do we get to those people? Rob, you're such a convincing and intelligent and well-spoken man. How do we get to those people that really? This is a lifeline for these people. And it's so important to the future of their families. And I've never in my lifetime, and I've been in finance, I've been in economics, I was a stockbroker when I was 20. Like, I've been in this my whole life. I've never seen an opportunity like this. And I got it 8 years ago. How is it? How do we do this, Rob? How do we make, Joe truck driver nail this trade? Because it's not too late. I mean, 365 is great for you and I, but that's not too late for XRP. That's just getting warmed up. How do we teach the public that aren't listening? How do we get to more people? I know it's a tough question, but
well, it kind of is, and then maybe it's kind of not. Actions speak louder than words. Who you are speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. To have, I guess, a grace and a magnetism that makes people see how happy you are, how grounded you are, how generous you are, how kind you are. And people want to know, what are you drinking? What drug is that, man? I want to smoke some of whatever you're smoking, and people buy from those that they know, like, and trust, and you bring them value. Okay. If they don't want to know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you, they're not going to buy your product, your thoughts, your philosophies, your ideas, your investment tip, your commentary on the financial system. So the first thing that we have to do is have an air of respect or composure or a persona that people are attracted to. I mean, if you're going to sell an idea, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And it has to happen in that order, Allan. Am I ever going to go, I don't really know that guy, but yeah, he can babysit my daughters. Or, I know that guy, and I like him, but I don't trust him because he'll screw anything that's not nailed to a wall. Wearing a chastity belt. And so he is not going to hang around my house, and no, he's not going to do my handiwork or be my pool guy because he'll so you have to, and I can't trust somebody that I don't know. So I got to know you first, and then I got to like you, and then I got to learn and be curious about you. And then I got to trust you. And then I got to find out, well, if you want to sell me, a lawnmower for $10,000. That's not value. I can know you, like you, and trust you, but I ain't buying it. It's too much. You're
That's
not
right.
bringing me any value. So there's a selling aspect. What I'm trying to do is, if we wanted, the definition of sales is a transference of a belief system from one person to another. If I want somebody to believe that XRP is the next modality of moving money and wealth around the world without all the encumbrances and without all the inflation and debasement and IRS and income taxes and fees and friction and the scarcity that it's generated around the world because it's concentrated so much wealth. XRP is like the AlkaSeltzer to that bad system. Wouldn't you want to own the AlkaSeltzer? But unless a person wants to lean in and hear what you have to say, and they know you and they like you and they trust you, then you're casting your pearls before the swine. You're throwing them out on a barren road and they're falling in the crack, and people don't want to hear it. They're not interested. They're not in that headspace. And we're just wasting our time trying to convince people that don't want to know. They don't want to humble themselves. They might want the cars that you have and the house that you have and the lifestyle that you have, but they ain't got 3 minutes to listen to what you have to say about how to get there.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, Rob. Like, I agree with everything you just said completely. The thing for me, though, is I am in a position of people looking up to me and the way I do things. I am a captain. So a lot of people do look at me and they do listen. They do give me those 3 minutes. And I don't know if converted is the right word, but I have helped some people come to that. And you're a man of great dignity and character. And it comes across. You don't even have to know Rob Cunningham for any more than about 2 minutes to figure out who this guy is, right? So you must be a pillar in your community, even outside of X. It's like, what I'm asking for is, have you found a secret sauce, like a couple of really like, boom, this really resonates. I know everybody that we talk with is a different human being, and they all are blank slates, but like, I think it's so important because we're there now. And these people, you know what's going to happen, Rob, and it keeps me up at night. These people who are the UPS driver who bought it, I don't know, in 21, and then he got out at the worst time, and he's going to get out. He's going to get in this time when XRP is $15.59. And then it's going to go to $18, and then it's going to drop down to 11, and he's going to sell it. You know that as well as I do. They're going to be the exit liquidity in this market. And how do we teach people? I don't know. I know I'm asking you the impossible.
No, it's a great question. I had that conversation earlier, Allan, today, and it's about how do you help people gain a banker mindset instead of a debtor mindset? How do we help people understand that we are created in the image and likeness of the Creator to reign as kings and queens with sovereignty? So rarely does reigning as a king and queen correlate to poverty and barely able to pay the bills. It does not. It implies an abundance enough of resources to do what you're here to reign as. Right. When the king and queen and poverty collide in the same sentence. So the mindset is that, well, first we have to detox ourselves from 95% of the stuff we've been taught our entire lives.
Yeah.
We'll have to, but I think the key to answer your question directly, one word keeps resonating with me, and it's authenticity. If people really, really, really believe that you believe what you're saying, then that transference of a belief system from one person to another is much more likely to occur. If people believe you're telling them something because you genuinely care about them and you want the best for them, and you're not selling them something just to sell them something, and there's really nothing in it for you whatsoever to tell them what you're telling them, you don't gain, you don't make a commission. It's not coming into your pocket. It's not benefiting you in any way. If anything, it's putting you at risk, because if the person does engage in owning XRP, but they don't have the capacity to handle the swings, and then they get in at the wrong time or out at the wrong time, who are they going to blame?
That's right.
Me and you, because they're not going to take personal responsibility. That damn Allan got me in this crappy XRP, and I bought it at 12 and it went to 14, but then it went to 9 and my wife made me sell it.
Yeah.
Damn Allan, why did you make me do that? And to your point, those that don't have the capacity and the optics and the wisdom and the understanding, I mean, it's one thing to talk about owning Apple stock or Amazon or Uber, Home Depot stock. Can you imagine if you'd have just put $10,000 in Home Depot when it went public and held it? What percentage of the people ever did that? Ever bought something, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft, and never sold their stocks? In hindsight, it's easy to say.
Yeah.
The heat of battle in this thing called life, most people don't know how to create a flywheel or stake or borrow from themselves or, collateralize loans and think like a banker, because we graduate high school and don't know how to balance a checkbook because they don't teach us any of that stuff.
No.
The money masters don't want us to master money. They want us to just shut up and follow the rules.
Yeah. Love that. What a slice of, man, I am going to cut that out and I am going to repost that section, because you put it so well. It's exactly that. It's authenticity. And I like to use the word discernment as well a lot here, but they have to do it for themselves. They have to discern what's real and what's not. And not just because some 3 bills were passed, are they going to say, well, now I can go ahead and buy that XRP I was looking at. Honey, let's go down and grab us some of that. But I think there's another key here too. And we need to teach them. I went through this the other day with somebody. It's easier to buy XRP than it is to buy almost anything today.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, no, it isn't. No, it's difficult. It's complicated. There has to be a wallet. There has to be all these. I said, no. It's not 5 years ago. It's easier than ever to buy crypto. Okay. Right. And in fact, I even showed them, well, okay, so you want to buy some new Microsoft software. Well, you got to go to the site. You got to do this. I mean, you know how hard it is to buy that thing, and you know how long it is before you get it. Even with Amazon Prime, how long is it going to be until you get that thing? Mm-hmm. Stop and think about what I just said there. You can crypto easier and faster than you can buy something that's technology software. Think about that. And they were just like, wow, you're right. Look at this. So we got to make it grandma easy, I guess, and grandpa easy. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this too, Allan. Let me posit. This goes into again, we're just ideating about best practices. How do we tell a story that resonates with the average person that means something to them, whatever level of understanding that they have. I don't have to be a finance expert or a quantum cryptographer or a blockchain engineer to understand the geopolitical aspects of what money is, what it's supposed to be, how the corrupt system came into being, and how we could potentially replace the corrupt system with a more honest, true, sound accounting system. Okay.
Yeah.
With actual truth. So knowing that sometimes we overcomplicate this because we assume people know what money is.
That's right.
Where money comes from. That the Federal Reserve is not legitimate. I mean, there's so many things that we kind of maybe even take for granted, or we'll go into deep, deep, deep rabbit holes that aren't really germane to the point. Okay.
Right.
So a couple things we can do to establish a basis. Do you think that the media lies to us? Do you feel like we're overtaxed? Do you feel like we're in a debt slavery system where we can never, ever, ever pay off $37 trillion or $100 trillion in debt? So who do we owe that money to? what if there had been, if I could prove to you they are lying in every possible way about the monetary system, would you want to understand what the truth is? And if people can come to that common denominator basis, well, yeah, tell me something I don't know. Sure, I'll be happy to give me a clear example that proves your point to me.
Yeah.
Can you try to share my screen? I've pulled something up.
I can too. Yeah. Let me get here first, and then how about that?
Cool, that's perfect. So today I went on Grok and I was just curious. I wanted to do an exercise. I wanted to connect the dots between, when President Trump was inaugurated, January the 20th of 2017 through today, how have we done? The top three cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. How have they done since that man took the oath to today?
Right.
So I ran the numbers and I had, I validated these numbers, but Grok 4, which is pretty powerful. Apparently it's the most powerful AI engine, at least for the next 5 minutes until the next one comes out.
Yeah. Right.
But here's the numbers in a nutshell. Bitcoin started at around $908 and it's gone to 118,000. Okay. In the 8.5 years since Trump first showed up on the scene as an elected president. Okay.
Yeah.
What is that? That's 12,870%. Really cool. That's amazing. That is, if you look at it, as far as an X number, that is, let's see, how many times? 908X.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Almost 1,000. Yeah.
Okay.
900.
No, I'm sorry. I'll get to that in just a minute. Ethereum. What did it do? It went from, what is it? What was the price? $10.08 to $3,600. Wow. 33,600% since the president signed into office. What about XRP? The shit coin, the one, coin, the one that everybody, they just dump on us, and because we're exit liquidity and we're too stupid to know what XRP is. And
right.
Of course,
it has no utility.
It's such a shit coin. The SEC had to sue it for 3 years. Jamie Dimon tried to buy it. They gave a free pass speech to Ethereum and Bitcoin and exclude XRP. And the Nazi police on social media tell us all what absolute morons and idiots we are for wanting to have anything to do with XRP. The problem is, at $3.24, it had gone up 49,900%, the number one performer. Now, that's kind of a problem to reconcile with. Why would the media ignore it? Why would Jamie Dimon try to buy it? Why would the SEC try to sue it? Why would the social media influencers want to tell us what morons we are? Let me go over here real quick. I want to try to see if I can't find this one more time. I don't know what happened to my X. Sometimes I confuse myself when it comes to stuff like this, and I shouldn't. But at the end of the day, come on, Rob. I'm going to stop sharing this, and then I'm going to go find my X account. There it is. Here's the bottom line. XRP was the strongest performing crypto token over this period, with a percentage increase of 49,900%, significantly outpacing ETH's 33,600% and Bitcoin's 12,870%. In terms of dominance, XRP's performance was about 1.48 times that of ETH, the second best performer, and roughly 3.88 times that of Bitcoin, the lowest performer of the three, highlighting its superior relative growth and making it the clear standout in terms of multiplicative returns during Trump's first term and beyond. The only reason I bring that up, Adam, is to just put the spotlight next to the lies, the corruption, the deception, the assassination attempts, the destruction of everything that is XRP and what it represents. Why has the global system done its very best to destroy? And even with their efforts, XRP was still number one. But you go to a Bitcoin conference and tell that, you won't walk out alive.
Well, I gotta disagree with you on a couple of things here. Number one, people are price sensitive, and people aren't smart enough to know that, I have to buy $118,000 for each coin. So we get a lot of that trickle down. They look at that and they go, let's have 118,000. Number two, they go, well, that one's 3,000. Well, that's out of my budget too. Look at this one's $2. Holy smokes, look how many thousands of those I get. And I actually had this conversation at the Bitcoin show with the guy, and I said, if they wanted to sell more Bitcoin, they would do it in Satoshis. It would be 0.0005. And boy, would they get a lot of the public to pile in.
You're talking about merchandising now.
Correct.
The psychology of buying stuff, right?
People want to buy a ton of coins for a little bit of cash because they think it's going to go to the moon, and they're going to, wow, look at all these zeros. I own 1 million of them. It only takes $1,000 to own 1 million Satoshis.
Right.
So people can wrap their head around that.
Right.
I am not a Bitcoin maxi, but I hold quite a few Bitcoin, and I do believe that it's I don't know that it's going to be the foundation of capitalization, but I do believe that it will have a place going forward, because I think it would have been cracked by now. Somebody could have. That's just my opinion. But I also like that it doesn't have a lot of the properties that a lot of the proof of stake coins do, which, I love proof of stake. Don't get me wrong. I got the top 30 coins. You know what I mean? Isn't this funny, bro? 8 years ago, my top portfolio 8 years ago was Bitcoin. I never really liked XR or Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Stellar Lumen, and I had a bunch of Theta. And look how they've all faded at different times and gone up and down the leaderboard. And then you wake up today, I had HBAR. I had a bunch of HBAR. And they've gone up and down the leaderboard. And then all of a sudden, ever since about October last year, the cream started rising to the top.
Yes, it did.
It's because of everything you just mentioned. Because all of this has been in the works, behind the scene, and the only reason why they come after who else had 4.5 years of court case? Who else had that dog chewing on their leg while they're trying to do business? That Mr. Burns.
How many people had the entire United States government business industry not wanting to touch you or take your phone call?
Right. Yeah. Or it's an NDA at least.
Or an NDA. Yeah. But if you weren't regulated and you were under investigation, and there was still a cloud of illegitimacy over your head because of an SEC or Justice Department ruling. And, these bankers are risk averse. They hate risk. They don't want any risk. They want total compliance. They want guaranteed returns on every business decision they make. And they're scared of their own shadow.
They are. And the other thing too, Robbie, as you know, I deal with a lot of very, very wealthy people. And one of the things they like is they like that big pool. They jump in those little pools, and it's too big a splash. How am I ever going to get out? There's not enough liquidity for me to buy $1 billion worth of, XRP tomorrow. Well, now they can't say that anymore. Now that if you go look over that right-hand column, it's going up. I think it was up 50 billion this week, I want to say. The last time I looked at it. That's the kind of numbers that the big boys like. When you can get in there, now we're going to be that coin that everybody's going to be saying, whoa, hey, I like that. Look at that.
Well,
how come they're not, I got to make this point real quick. They really don't want to make money. I know Most people don't believe that. They don't care. They just don't want to lose $1 billion.
Right.
They just don't. They don't
they
like
make
the risk.
enough on their business model. They just want to play defense when they can.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
And
But
that's,
here's your point though. Today, first time, what do we have? Went live, an Ultra 2X XRP ETF. The institutional boys can use this for risk management, portfolio management, for hedging. They don't have to get their fingers dirty and actually own any XRP. They don't have to create a wallet. They don't have to worry about custody, none of that stuff. But they can sure use a 2X long XRP ETF as part of the portfolio balancing, risk management, hedging strategy. So,
and they will.
And they will. In, in volumes of quantity, in voracious amounts of quantity, they will use this. So, you know, that happened today. Another God wink today. You know, I mean, there's so many things that happen on.
Did you catch that today?
7/17. We're hitting an all-time high. We're getting legislation passed. We got a signing ceremony tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
wait a minute. Wait, I know you already know this. Have you heard what's coming out on the 22nd?
Tell me.
There's so much going on. The 22nd is going to be the day that everybody's going to want to listen to. I'm telling you right now. I heard from numerous different people 2 months ago. Oh, right after that big important week that you guys are all worried about, you know, because you and I have been talking about this ISO on the July 14th. They're like, yeah, that's not. I like, wait till the 22nd. And I said, well, what do you mean? What's happening on the 22nd? I don't understand. What is that? I'm looking through the internet. I'm trying to dig everywhere. I can't find anything on it. They said, wait, watch, and see what he's about to do and the way he's about to do it. And I thought, okay, all right, I can get a lead on it. So let me get it out of this other guy who's kind of hinted around about it. The little birdies are telling me that they're going to nail the coins. They're going to say, look, don't waste your time with these other 50. And I'm like, how is he going to do that? And basically it's like, that's what they're telling me. And I don't know if you heard this, but Cardano got a big pat on the back today.
The midnight drop's going to happen?
Well, no, obviously midnight's going to happen as well, too. But no, it's in the paperwork today that it's one of the 3 most decentralized coins there are.
Well, I've heard Charles say what he wants to do more than anything is be the DeFi layer of the XRP ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I love, okay, I never got a chance to speak with him, but I met him at the Bitcoin show. I wanted to sit down and talk with him, but everybody in the world wanted to talk to him. But I'm not sure I could have kept up with the conversation, to be quite honest. But he actually had 20 people around him. And he's at a Bitcoin conference. And I thought, what is that guy doing here? And then the amount of XRP people I saw at the Bitcoin conference, like I'm talking high-level people, I was like, wow, this is happening. And then the most amazing thing to me was all the people from all around the world. People around like you were talking about earlier, the $10 trillion from the Arab nations, they were all in the room, all of them. But the one that really struck me the hardest was I go down they got 150 booths there. And I walk down this row and there's Shell Oil, Mobil Oil. And I'm like, look where we are. Look where crypto is. And I'm looking at all these Arabs. And I'm looking at the oil and I'm looking at this whole thing. And I'm like, this is not the crypto I remember. It's not the crypto I remember.
And
we have come a long way.
Think about this. We still don't have a wet ink signature on a piece of paper yet. That's going to happen tomorrow. How damn early have we been?
But okay, now I'm going to spill the little beans that I heard. I'm hearing up to $5 billion in your top 5 to 10 coins. Boom, immediately. By, I don't know, maybe the Treasury or something along those lines. And I said, well, how are you going to pull that off? I thought you couldn't spend taxpayer money. And I kind of beat it out of this one guy. And I don't know. Nobody knows. I don't know. I'm speculating. Don't quote me on anything. But he goes, gee, Allan, do you remember that little thing that, I don't know, started happening around the mid-2000s that you stockbrokers for years, you were telling everybody that, hey, there's this plunge protection team, and we know you're back there, and we know you've been hiding in the background, and we know you're pulling these coins or the stocks up. We know you're doing it. And I was like, oh my God. Are you talking like plunge protection team and the cash laying on the sidelines is going to pile in there? Because see, now I'm telling you right now, again, 2 months ago, I said that we didn't have 200 Bitcoin, and it just came out yesterday. We don't have that. We don't have it. Well, why? Because the previous administration did what? Spent them all. So did the Europeans. So did the Germans. They spent them all. Why? Why would you do that?
Hail Mary path to destroy the emergence of sovereignty in a one world order system. They had to do everything they could to put us back in the cage and not let us break free.
And what I was told was they're too late. As you know, their big plan is CBDC in Europe in October. Too late, baby. By the time they do that, it'll be too late for them. It's too late. There'll be too much capital. There'll be too much open avenues, and there'll be too many little of all of us little people who said, I don't want a CBDC. I want that. I want all these real coins, and I'm buying them now. And like we mentioned earlier, it's easier and easier to purchase.
If America has an anti-CBDC surveillance act and we have no central bank digital currency operations in our economy and we will not interact with them, that means America is going to be going north and everybody else in the world is going to go south. That doesn't make any sense. They're not going to. If they can't dance with the prettiest girl in the ballroom, then they're going to figure out how to get to dance with the prettiest girl in the ballroom.
Except for who's been shooting at the feet of the U.S. for 100 years?
The British.
City of London, Europe.
Yep.
Always.
That's sovereignty. But again, we're the biggest milk cow that feeds their ability to do their world control manipulations.
We were.
Exactly.
Why are they leaning so much on Canada these days? I'm just saying, like, those people didn't have you and I, Rob, in mind. We were the dirt under their boot. And I think that's all changed, my friend. I think it's time for all of us to wake up and say, those people have never liked technology, ever, ever, ever. And as soon as this crypto thing came out, that whole group, that whole Davos, that whole pack of, anyway, I don't have anything nice to say about them, but
I don't either.
Those people have been against the people, the citizens of America forever, ever. I don't even like to call us citizens because I know what that word really truly means.
It's a hatred that is almost beyond description. It's contempt. Yeah. It's a hatred where the unwashed masses, where the troglodytes underneath the bridge, they're the elite. And the fact that we even exist, the only reason they allow it is to work in their factories for them. Yeah,
that's correct. And all you got to do is look at, okay, Europe. Well, how are you going to be as an island? Gee, I don't know. You don't have any resources, and you're demolishing all your nuclear plants. But like, they haven't made a good decision in Europe in decades.
Oh my God.
And I love Europeans. Do not get me wrong. Don't
We're talking about the government officials. We're talking about the narcissists.
That's
We're
right.
not talking about the people, right?
That's right.
We can say the same thing to China. The narcissistic, evil CCP
Correct.
is who we're talking about, not the average China person.
That's right. In fact, I love the people of the world. I don't care what your border is. That doesn't matter to me. I'm a people person. But like, it's hard for me to see it any other way. They have made this decision, and they have decided that that's the route they're going to go. And these people like Elizabeth Warren and whatnot are clearly bought by those banking institutions. There is no other reason for the absolute lies that that woman told. She told lies today and yesterday. Blatant. The stuff I know for a fact is a lie. She has to know.
She's under orders she's a puppet. She's a marionette on strings.
That's right. I'm playing doorman here for the dogs, in case anybody was wondering.
You know what? I want to go back. Let's go back real quick and connect what you talked about, how people are going to get in, they're going to get out, and they're going to regret it. It's going to go up and it's going to go down.
Yeah.
We all know Smoke Dog, and we all love Smoke Dog for being a prolific researcher and thinker. And he lives and eats and breathes this stuff. And I love the man. This is what he just posted. Dave Portnoy. I sold my XRP 2 weeks ago. All my XRP, nothing more to say at this time. He posted this video, and the guy admitted to having millions of dollars in XRP, and he sold out 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
and he's at least man enough. He's at least man enough to admit it.
Yeah, I have a fantastic story. I'll make it as quick as possible here. I know these two men, and they work for a company that, they used to work for this company, and it may or may not be quite a large market maker. Anyway, they used to work for Citadel. I'll just call it that. And I've been talking to them for years. And so about September, I get a phone call from a good friend of mine. He says, hey, you know what? A little birdie told me that BY Mellon is actually buying XRP. And I said, what? Really? He goes, yeah, that's the craziest thing. And I'm like, and he's not really into it or anything like that. So I get this call from another guy, and he says, what have you heard about this BY Mellon deal buying XRP? And I'm like, I heard the same thing. So I talked to these two guys at Citadel, right? One of them calls me up. He says, hey, I just bought $50 million worth of that stuff. I said, what? This is January. Yeah. He's telling me this. He goes, when you called me, when you told me what they were doing, I looked into whether or not you were right. And you were right. They were buying it. So me and my brother bought it. I said, what? Wow, 50 million. He goes, yeah. My brother's got bigger stones than I do. He bought $125 million worth of it. And I went, excuse me, at 50 cents. And they 5X'd, and they said, yeah, thanks for the tip, Al. And I was like, well, I was telling you what I was hearing. It was scuttlebutt. But I want everybody to look back. When you look at what it did October, November, it was like a stair step. I don't know if you remember that.
50 cents on the day of the election in 2024, XRP was at 50 cents, and we're at 365 right now. So you do the math. I mean, that's a 6X. Yeah. That's at least it's more than a 6X since the election. And
I'm talking about from October to January, it's stair-stepped.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know who bought it. And then I was told, you can't say anything about it. You don't say anything on your channel. You can't tell them who did it. You can't tell them who told you this. Then last week they come out and say, oh yeah, they're going to custodian all the RLUSD. I'm like, well, the cat's out of the bag. I'm like,
I already knew that.
Yeah, if you're going to custodial their stable coin, clearly you're going to have their XRP. They bought a ton of XRP. I'm telling you right now. I don't know if Ripple will ever admit to it, but I know they were selling it to them. Yeah.
But here's the point, Alan. What if everybody could just put 2 and 2 together and say, okay, I believe Trump, because normally when he says something loud and with absolute certainty and with total conviction, it tends to be right. It happens. He doesn't belly flop on the national stage and be wrong. If he's making a policy statement or a guarantee or what he's going to do, he does it. It gets accomplished. It gets done. If the dollar is going to remain the dominant, unit of exchange of value, the greatest dollar in the world and the crypto capital of the world, and the digital dollar is going to be the RLUSD or the real US dollar backed by treasury bills and underneath the treasury and, with all kinds of regulatory compliance and auditing and soundness. And every single RLUSD that transports around the world in all the different countries has to have an XRP as a co-pilot for compliance and ledgering and accountability and KYC and all of the compliance requirements that are built into the NY Department of Financial Services that make it okay to use RLUSD. Most people forget to say that, and every single flight, every sortie, every RLUSD goes on, it's co-pilots and XRP.
Yep.
So all of that liquidity, 24/7, 365 of US dollars floating all over the world, every activity, every fingerprint is going to be ledgered by the XRP technology and the XRP token. That's just one use case for XRP.
Yeah. And it's comical when I hear these other channels tell me, oh, well, you got RLUSD. What do you need XRP for? It's like, you just need to do just a little bit of homework.
Right.
Please. It's so frustrating. I talk to these other channels and I'm just like, what are you? Okay. All right. I can't look, you can lead the horse to water, obviously, but it's so frustrating, Rob. But you know what? Hey, it's a terrible statement, but it's the truth. They'll all get it at the price they deserve, I guess. Well,
the good news, Alan, is we are going to be able to maybe be put in a unique position of high responsibility to be leaders, to be educators, to maybe fund things that help us detox all the lies that we've been taught about everything, about who we are, about which laws matter, about what money is, about, relationships, about commerce, about food that we eat, about what's really medicine, that it actually doesn't come from the tip of a needle from a pharmaceutical product, petroleum product is not really good for your body. That's not really organic. It's oil. It's
salt and oil.
There is actually this thing called a father of lies, a principality of darkness that finds every way in its might and power to lie, divide, deceive, and destroy us. And if we don't wake up to that one truth, then we're never going to know how to live a righteous life.
No.
If we don't understand that there's an enemy out there and we keep getting our butts kicked, it's like that old saying about if you go to a poker game or you go to a table and you look around, and you don't know who the mark is. You're it.
Jack, you're it.
You're it, and if we don't know that we're being marked for destruction by entities that would rather see us drown in a pool than help us in any way, shape, or form, that's what we've been taught, that we live in this world, but not of it. We're destroyed by our lack of knowledge. And it's not textbook knowledge, and it's not math table knowledge. It's knowledge of the laws of the universe and who we are and whose we are. So if we don't get back to first principles, then we're going to find ourselves right back in debt slavery in 10 or 15 or 20 years or 30 years from now. If we don't learn from the mistakes of the past, we're doomed to repeat them. So maybe we're going to have a chance to help people when things change and things get better and people lose the fear, they lose the chip off their shoulder, they feel more flush, they feel more wealthy, and then they will exhale and go, okay, now I'm genuinely curious, Allan. Tell me what you saw and how did you see things 10 years ago? Can you start from the beginning, Allan, and tell me how you saw something that you just I never saw? And you'll then know that they're genuinely open-minded about
Right.
having the eyes to see
So
instead of
true.
just being defensive. You know?
And you know, we first of all, I don't like to call us the army. The family is so blessed to have a man like yourself, Rob.
Oh,
You're selfless and you're tireless in your efforts and your presentation and your true dedication to us all is it's magical, my friend. And I call you a friend. And not only that, I look up to you and other people for inspiration, and you never fail us. And it's brilliant work that all of us are doing together. And by the way, everybody in the chat, everybody who's a part of this, you're part of the spiritual connection of what we want for mankind. And it's so big. It's bigger than we all know. And by the way, I'd like to mention a wonderful man that Mr. Jimmy Valley. And I love my brother Jimmy.
I love our brother Jimmy, man. I love,
that guy.
Yeah. We both have daughters named Reagan.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I love it. Yeah. But I'm hoping he's going to come to my event. I'm hearing that he may not, but anyway, that's another thing too. I think it's really important for us all to come together as a community.
Yes.
But it's okay if there's players who are dishonest or not honest, and I'm not referring to Jimmy in this manner at all. If there's players that are not truthful and honest and walking in the light, we don't need them. We'll shed them. They will not follow to the finish line with the rest of us. And unfortunately, there's a few of those people in our family. And I walked into this family blind, wide open, eyes wide open, loving everybody. And lately I've heard a lot of people say, well, Allan, be careful with that guy. Be careful with that person and this person. So it's frustrating because I want to love everybody from the inside out because I know who they are on the inside. I do, as we all know. They are pure love on the inside, but they get persuaded and they get jaded by the money and the man's wealth and greed. And
all kinds of human frailties for sure. I mean, all of them. We're taught that, even Christ said, why would I place my trust in something when I know what's inside that vessel? I know it's not clean. And there's only in God I trust, in God we trust. And
that's
everything else is, you have to be forgiving and loving and graceful and understanding, but you have to understand that false idols or placing your trust anywhere other than the place it deserves to be placed is a recipe for, problems.
I agree. Yeah. So good. Rob, I know it's late where you're at. You need to get out of here, my friend, or what do you think?
Let me make one final point, if you don't mind, just a kind of announcement, sort of a
brother. I'll sit here all night with you. You know that.
Well, I want to, if people were to follow my timeline on X, they'll find out that today is a pretty special day for me and a lot of people, not only in the XRP Army, but in the ecosystem and in the Link to family. Okay. Today is the 47th day since May 31st, when we released a press release about what was going on with the hostile takeover at Link to, and what we believe the illegitimate board members, what their ulterior motive was, how they were building a mountain out of a molehill and trying to purposefully bankrupt a company in order to steal $400 million from 15,000 investors in 130 countries. And we created the free link2.com website and a press release and began building a team. And 47 days after that went public, the Southern District of Texas bankruptcy judge today granted our hearing for a motion to change the venue out of Texas to where it belongs in Delaware. And for all those that were smart, that were wise, that were patient, that spent money on pre-IPO company stocks like Ripple and Kraken and Uphold and Anthropic and SpaceX and Circle and all these things, contrary to what the current management is trying to tell us, is that it was such an egregious job of accounting and administration. It's just so impossible for us to unwind the clerical mistakes. So we have to take the company bankrupt, chop it all up, put it in a closed-end fund, charge 2 and 20, and drink, frozen drinks out of a straw in Tahiti. There's nothing that we can do. And the gurus from Stanford Law and Sullivan and Cromwell are only here to help, and they're just here to make Link2 great again. And if we believe that bullshit, I couldn't take it. I wasn't about to stand by and be idle. There's only one thing worse, Allan, than seeing what they're trying to do to the wealth, the hard-earned wealth and the personal property of 15,000 people. The only thing that would be worse than what they're doing is for us to take a knee and let them do it.
Amen to that.
We cannot sit there and let these scoundrels and thieves weaponize the judicial system, monetize the bankruptcy process, tell us that their hands are tied. Trust us. We've looked at every angle. There's nothing we can do except drive this thing into bankruptcy. They came out boldly in a call yesterday and told everyone that was on the call, there will be no SPV conversions to common stock, even though they've done it 8 times. They've done 8 successful exits where people contracted, they bought the money, they got the SPVs, they got the K1s, they got the monthly statements. Then Coinbase goes public or Robinhood goes public. 6 months later, we convert the SPVs and they send us common shares and put them in our stock brokerage account. They've had 8 successful exits, but now, the good guys have shown up. There's nothing they can do. Their hands are tied, and we just know that we just want everybody to be happy and get along. And in 8 to 12 months, they'll have this all taken care of.
Yeah, be taken care of all right.
Yeah, take care of it all right. So the fact of the matter is the preponderance of evidence, the facts, the common law, the moral law, the case law, the bankruptcy law, the bylaws of Delaware, all of the laws line up in the vested interest of the property holders that put money, that made a contract with Link2. Link2 made an offer. People bought the offer. People transferred cash. We got a receipt. We got a K1. We got a statement. Every aspect of contracting took place. They're trying to tell the world that because clerical errors in their interpretation weren't to the standards of their interpretation, they'll take all that $400 million and do whatever the hell they want to us, and they'll serve us up a meal with our property, and we'll eat it and like their meal. It's
unacceptable, Rob.
It's immoral, it's unacceptable, and it will not stand. And today was the first day of hope. Look, what we had, Allan, until today, until this news broke today, we've had a one-sided narrative. We've had a guy spinning poison Kool-Aid, people drinking his poison Kool-Aid, the Wall Street Journal buying his poison Kool-Aid and putting out a hit piece. And unfortunately, now we have a lawsuit against the former management team that's a great deal of it's predicated on the poison Kool-Aid. And so everybody in the social media Boo Bear chorus and the investors who don't really know all the details about what's going on, we've had a triple-sided, one-sided Dan the Man, Wall Street Journal, and an influencer doing lawsuits, saying things and taking actions that make it look like there's smoke and there's fire. And oh my God, this must have been a Ponzi scheme rug pull and a bunch of scumbags were trying to hurt us. Well, let's stop for a second. $400 million has grown to $2 or $2.5 billion. If I'm getting screwed by putting 400 million in and getting 2.5 billion back, screw me some more.
Right.
The ones that are trying to screw us are the ones that are screaming the loudest, saying that the other guy screwed you. And I'm here to help stop these 5x returns because I'm a law professor and I studied good governance. And I know how to do the bankruptcy process and you don't. And I have Sullivan and Cromwell on my team and you don't. So y'all sit down, shut up, and we'll pour a little porridge into your bowl. And then after we do that, you can tell us thank you.
Right.
How about y'all go kiss my ass?
Right. And as soon as anyone hears the word Sullivan Cromwell, run, grab something sharp and big, because those people are coming for your wallet. They don't know any other business practice. All you got to do is just Google. I mean, nobody Googles anymore, but just check them out.
Go to Grok 4.
Yeah, Grok 4 those people and look into what they're all about. And I don't even care if you don't even have skin in the game. I don't. I'm not a link to holder, but I'll tell you, these are my people. I don't care. You don't steal from honest people. And that whole practice.
You don't steal, period. You don't steal from dishonest people.
Yeah.
This is grand larceny on a global scale. Allan, people need to understand that this is a precedent-setting case with 130 nations and citizens from 130 nations involved. This is going to reflect poorly or positively on the SEC, the Justice Department, the bankruptcy court system, the Southern District of Texas. Potentially it can be positive or negative, right? But there's implications on the Delaware Chancery Court, on the ecosystem, on the current board that's the board. The standing and the legitimacy of the rule of law that should be applied equally and fairly to all people around the world. And if we take a knee and let these robber barons ram this down our throat and steal our property, it's going to leave a very dark mark on a lot of people in this, and it won't go away. I mean, there'll be class action suits from every angle for decades going after these people, because people that even had $10,000, $25,000, $50,000 in Ripple stock. Do you think in 5 years when they see Ripple stock at $4,500 a share, or it's done a 5-for-1 split and it's $900 a share now, which is the equivalent of $4,500, and they paid $35 for their stock? Do you think they're going to go, oh, shucks, Dan and company, they got us? Or are they going to go, you assholes, I'm suing your ass from here to eternity, because that was my property. You stole my inheritance I had set aside for my grandkids because you're a narcissistic freak that thought you could get away with this. And they picked a fight directly and indirectly with the XRP army. And I think I hope and I pray from my mouth to God's ears, they're going to rue the day that they tried to pickpocket 15,000 people. 11,300 of those 15,000 own Ripple SPVs. And so if they own the Ripple SPVs, don't you think they probably also own XRP?
Of course.
That's 11,300 brothers and sisters in our community who this little twerpy narcissistic law professor has come in to be the white knight savior, as he claims, to fix up all the torrential boo-boos of the other crew that only helped us make 5x on our money so far. The whole narrative it makes my hair hurt. It's so bad.
He can't spell XRP. He's just come in. He's the hitman. You know the story.
He's the front man. Yeah.
The front. Yeah. He's going to swing the big stick and make all the, kiss all the babies and make everybody feel good while they're getting fleeced out the back door. It's really a sad state of our legal affairs in our country here. Unfortunately, it happens all too often. But that firm is one of the worst in our nation. When I heard that they were involved, I went, "Oh dear God, that just spells criminal to this man." And it
Can I tell you what? Can I give you a positive story?
is there one with that company?
No, but there's a positive story with the resolve of the XRP Army and what the faith of a mustard seed can do to move a mountain.
Of course.
Until today, there's only 4 people that have contributed millions of dollars to fight this fight, to take Sullivan Cromwell on nose to nose, stop this crime, bring a spotlight on it, not buy the BS, wake people up. And in 47 days, we went from press release to this judge's ruling today because 4 people said, over our dead body, you're not doing this. So the team is bigger than 4, but only 4 people have skin in the game so far, or 5 people now as of today, a 5th person. Now, there are people, I want to clarify this. There are people that have gone to freelink2.com and they've contributed money on Give, Send, Go. And I want to thank every single person that's done it. But these firms that have to fight Sullivan and Cromwell in court can't be Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe law firms. These people ain't cheap. Okay. Oh. We have to fight these folks. And these other guys are good at the dark arts. They know what they're doing, and they have relationship equity, and they have every trick of the trade up their sleeve. And they have taken the carcasses off, the meat off the bone of companies thousands of times the world over. Yeah, we stood up and said, over our damn body, are you going to do this to us?
Yeah.
We're starting to bring the white hot spotlight on these people and exposing them. And we're alerting the FBI and the SEC and the Treasury Department and everyone that we can possibly think of to bring clarity to the absolute unspeakable abuses of what's taking place here. And if these narcissists are allowed to do what they're trying to do with everybody aware of it, then I don't believe the collective goodwill of humanity and the new administration and how people want to collaborate and find creative solutions and be fair and open and honest and transparent on a level playing field are going to sit on their hands and let this travesty take place. I have too much faith in mankind that once they know the facts of what they're attempting to do here, that people are going to rise to a elevated standard of decency. And I believe that to be the future of this country. Yeah. I believe that to be true. It's up to us to make sure it happens. That's our responsibility. And we've let all of these players take the power away from the people for too long. We need to fix that. Right. Somebody, Ozzy put something in here. What do you think about John Deaton's lawsuit with William Saris? What do you think about that? Well, it's unfortunate. It's divisive to the community. I have just while we were on this interview, I just got notice of, he decided to sue the former CEO and founder, and that individual had to reply and respond to the lawsuit. His lawyers did. Okay. So what's been made public in the last hour in this lawsuit in the Southern District of New York is where the case is being heard, is that they're moving to disqualify the case and the litigant for a number of ethical breaches and conflicts of interest. One of them being that, unfortunately, the fact pattern is this: when the old management started to learn, oh my God, these people are going to drive us into bankruptcy and try to move everything and redirect things into a closed-end fund, monetize it. They have no intent of honoring the obligations or the business model or have fiduciary responsibility to the customers. They are intentionally creating an ugly as hell narrative, character assassinating the previous staff to make themselves look better, turn the revenue off, stop the trading, report everything they think's been a boo-boo to all the regulators, hire these expensive lawyers at $2 million a month, drain the reserves, declare bankruptcy, and say, see, it was the other guys that caused bankruptcy. We're just here to find a better creative solution. So
same old story.
Same old story. So when the previous administration figured out and the light bulb went off, these guys are up to no good, they called John Deaton and they said, come help us. And John came, and for many people there, he's like, what can I do? I'm XRP Army. There's always been a close relationship between John and Link2. And he came and he took Mr. Saris under confidence and started to help him and other board members and try to put together an argument for why this was so wrong. And he wrote a derivative lawsuit against Dan Siciliano, the current acting CEO. And it sliced him 18 ways from Sunday for all of his breaches, all of his lies, all of his conflicts of interest, all the mismanagement, all the bylaw breaks and breaches of protocol and ethics and standards. And he was going back and forth under confidentiality of attorney-client privilege and secrecy and all these sort of stuff. Well, 5-6 weeks later, he's an observer, a non-voting observer on the board. And now he ends up turning around and suing the client that he had done a derivative lawsuit for, with all of that information that he had that was kind of shared under attorney-client privilege. Now he's using it in the reverse direction, taking Dan's bullshit and suing Bill Saris. So the inherent conflict.
How is that even legal?
It's not. It's not.
I don't.
It's not. And unfortunately for John, he's going to have to answer to the audience members. You know, you first wanted to take the legs out from Siciliano, and then you got a board observer seat. Now you want to take the legs out from underneath Saris. What's going on?
You know, I really want to love John Deaton too.
And I want John to come to our side and understand we cannot give any presumption or assumption to the legitimacy of this South Texas bankruptcy process, because it was filed for all the wrong reasons, illegally, for purposes of evasion, all kinds of reasons. It should never be there. It should be under corporate law in Delaware in the Chancery Court. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mr. Siciliano filed this in a panic because he understood a vast majority of common shareholders and preferred shareholders were going to have a board meeting, fire them, and put in a new board and put in a new executive staff and revitalize the company with new technology and new players and new capital and make Link2 a mind-blowing company. But he had to circumvent the will of the majority of shareholders by rushing as fast as he could to Texas and filing a bankruptcy suit. So to file an action in order to thwart the will and the vote of the majority of shareholders, we're talking about 250, 300 people that own shares in the, not SPV unit holders, we're talking the equity shareholders. He violated due process, case law, bankruptcy law, bylaws, Delaware law, and good corporate government 101. You can't, Sullivan and Cromwell and Dan Siciliano cannot go, we didn't know. We didn't know. No, they can't claim ignorance because their marquee resume is they're the smartest guys in the world.
Right.
But they have breached every protocol of basic common decency, moral law, common law, bankruptcy law, case law, Texas law, Delaware law, everything, the mountain of evidence about what these guys have tried to do. Because why? There's 4.7 million shares of Ripple SPVs at play here. If you want to follow the money, then you'll understand the why.
Right.
Okay. So
I mentioned its long-term value.
These people that design the Federal Reserve have a long-term vision in mind.
Oh yeah.
People that go and steal people's wealth and store it up and hide it, they aren't thinking 5 weeks or 5 years down the road. No. They're thinking 20 and 30 years down the road.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So today it's an opportunity day. I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't want to see, we all have an affection for John Deaton. I mean, I've been to all three XRP conferences. I've seen him at all three. I've gotten photographed with John on stage on the first two,
Same.
And unfortunately, the divisive agent in this equation is the chief liar, the acting CEO at Link2. And people are picking and choosing which side of the narrative they want to go with without having any of the facts. All they're doing is choosing a narrative that they think sounds good to them, and then they go with it, and then they start the food fight in the kitchen, and it's like that Animal House food fight movie. Everybody's just throwing food at each other, and nobody even knows who started the fight or why they're fighting or why they're throwing food, but they just got to get the dopamine hit and throw the food.
And racking up lawyer fees.
And who wins? When we're doing this, who wins?
That's right.
Lawyers.
Always.
And a 9 to 12 month process of this lawyer stuff, if it will just all be good boys and girls and let these good angels pat us on the head all along the way. And on the other end will be rainbows and ponies, and we'll all be happily ever after.
Yeah.
That's the story that they're trying to get these pre-IPO accredited investors with XRP Army blood in their veins to believe.
Yeah.
Allan, it's our job to wake up the Army that not only is it a lie, but we got to get united, and we need to take action, and everybody needs to say, we're not going to take this. We're going to unite. We're going to stand in righteousness. We're going to stand in honor and respect for each other's personal property. We're not going to let them make up the rules for them and steal our property and our kids' inheritance. And I'd love to see people come in and start chipping in, because these lawyers ain't cheap, And if you start thinking, okay, could you put $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 in towards the cause? Oh God, no, that's no way. Okay, so you don't mind losing $27 million of your Ripple stock, but you won't put $5,000 in to save it?
Yeah.
You don't want to put $2,000 or $2,500 in order to A, do the right thing, B, be a part of history, and C, preserve those SPVs that you bought that are going to create legacy kind of wealth.
Yeah, that's right.
You got $2,500 to chip into the kitty.
They're going to lawyer fee you to zero.
I'm sorry.
They're going to lawyer fee you to zero anyway. You either fight or they're going to,
Their goal is not here to help.
No. And it's not to help the people ever. Now, I hate to put it like that, but when somebody like Solomon comes along, they're not. I mean, you saw what they did with the FTX case. Have you looked into what their lawyer fees were and how many lawyers they?
10% of their global revenue. Zach Rector and I did an interview on this. I think it was July the 3rd, maybe.
Yeah.
If you go up and grok the Sullivan and Cromwell fees through FTX, they worked with them before they declared bankruptcy and after. Zach said some number along the lines of, in 30 days, one lawyer racked up like 4,000 hours of fees at $12,500 an hour, some crazy number.
Somewhere $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, $7.5 million in a month. One partner. They had 1,000 lawyers on this case.
1,000. I read the same thing. Yeah.
So they 10% of global revenue for Sullivan and Cromwell came from one case, FTX. So now you have to ask yourself, if their marquee claim to fame is multi-billion-dollar money center banks and big conglomerates and massive marquee bankruptcy cases, why are they going after a little diddly company called Link2 that has got $20 million in the treasury and has some assets? And the only thing that makes sense is the 4.7 million shares of Ripple that Brad Garlinghouse confirmed that Ripple sold to Link2. So if they sold it and the customers own it, and the current CEO saying we don't own shit, somebody's lying.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not Brad Garlinghouse, and it's not the customers. We have receipts. Brad knows what he sold, and you got this little guy in the cockpit over here saying you don't own anything.
What is Brad's incentive? Why would he lie about that?
He has no motive to do that whatsoever.
None. None.
He's a Boy Scout from a standpoint of credibility. He's an unimpeachable character. I've been blessed to meet him 3 times at different.
I met him once. Yeah.
You know, I've met him at the Swell event in Miami, and I've met him at the first XRP when there was about 300 of us, 250 maybe.
That's when I met him too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was wonderful, and the guy's genuine. He's down to earth. I tried to broker an interview. I was trying to interview both Brad and G. Edward Griffin together at the same time. I was able to go out and spend a whole day with G. Edward Griffin at his home and interview him and be part of the. We're going to be in this next upcoming movie. Fruition Production is doing a movie called Money Disrupted. It's the second movie after Rig from the Start.
Sure.
And I was able to convince Mr. Griffin to be a part of that movie. And so he's got a very significant role in it. Hopefully Ron Paul will be in it as well. They might watch, I might get to, be in it for 30 seconds or something just to keep the ratings up, But I mean, G. Edward Griffin's lived in the same house since 1962, the year I was born. He's married to the same woman for 71 years. She's as funny and hilarious and sprightly as he is.
Yeah.
He interviewed in his office that he's done all of his research and all of his interviews and all of his books and the same house that he's been in for 71 years in the Southern California area. And that was truly, I told him in my interview that besides meeting and spending an hour with President Trump, that was one of the second biggest highlights of my professional career is to get in because that man's a legend.
Yeah. Oh, I went to a Silver Symposium and he was a guest speaker and I maybe 200 people in the room. Oh. And I knew the 2 guys putting the show on. In fact, I was going to be a speaker in the show actually. And they sort of bounced all of us to get, him up there longer because he's a slow but very very methodical speaker. And we're like, give him the whole day, right. Put him up there. And all of us had so much respect for him that it was like, cancel me, but I got to have lunch with him and sit, just a few of us. And I'll tell you, it's that feeling of it's not royalty, but it's a feeling of depth of knowledge.
Anointing.
Yes.
There's an anointing on that. Every word is surgically precise. He doesn't use a word that's not necessary in the manner with which he communicates.
Yeah, so true. He's I learned funny thing, I learned a lot that day because I asked him the questions that he's like, he would look at me and he would stare at me and he would you could just see the calculator running, you know what I mean? And I ask a lot of odd questions of people because I know he's asked all the other ones, the simple ones. So I asked him, different things, but I'll never forget. I said, what is your definition of money? And his answer was so brilliant that I have to share it with everybody. He said, money is nothing more than energy.
Yes.
It's stored. Sometimes it's properly stored and sometimes it's abused. And man goes, it's like a roller coaster as to when it's which side and throughout time. And I said, well, is that sort of like wars? Is it that there'll always be war and there'll always be that in corruption of money? And he had this big smile on his face and he said, you are a student of money. And I was like, that was like one of my favorite things that's ever happened in my life. And if you're I'm the geek, right, who had the Wall Street Journal under his arm when he was going to junior high school. I was that guy. I wanted to be a stockbroker so bad I could just taste it, when I was early 20s. But to hear him say something, give you even a slight compliment, was just like, wow, I've arrived. It's so, I don't know. I feel that way when I'm in many people's presence, and you included, by the way.
Oh my goodness! I just got
what'd you get?
Breaking text here from 1 hour ago. It looks like breaking.
Uh-oh.
President Trump announces he will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corporation, and Rupert Murdoch over their fake, in all capital letters, story about him and Epstein published in the Wall Street Journal. He will sue them into the Stone Age. When this man goes after you because you lied and defamed and character assessed, they measure 6 times and cut once.
Oh,
if
yeah.
He's announcing a lawsuit for these guys doing defamation of character, and they have they need to bring him down.
That's right.
They lose. They might as well go ahead and fold up.
Yeah, there's something that a very brilliant attorney taught me a very long time ago, and it goes essentially like this. The reason why, okay, you remember all the books came out about Bill Clinton and all the different ladies that wrote about all the offenses against him and whatnot. And I always asked everybody, especially intelligent attorneys, why doesn't he come out and go after him? Why doesn't he do that? And you know as well as I do, because he has to be on both sides of the he has to open up everything to these people. That's why you can make all the allegations that you want to these people, but it's the people that are willing to actually go to a lawsuit and complete that. That means that they're willing to expose themselves, and they don't feel as if they have anything to hide. And people need to remember that. And they don't. They're like, oh, Trump's just trying to make money off of this. No, he's trying to get them to open their books and show the honesty, because he has to reveal both sides, have to reveal the honesty of it all. But typically they settle out of court because Rupert Murdoch doesn't want you really to know what a scoundrel the man really is.
Right. Or his boys,
yeah.
or the former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, who's on the board of Fox News and all of, the entire entity, the puppet show is the left and the right, the red and the blue, and MSDNC and Fox News. They're both working they're the 2 wings on the same vulture, working for the same paymaster.
That's it.
And unfortunately, if people don't understand that divide and conquer is the way with a little W, not the way with a big W, right? Right. And most importantly, if people understand that we're in war, we're in a spiritual war, you'll understand then what the art of war in Sun Tzu talks about when he says the single most powerful weapon in warfare is deception. When far seem near, when weak seem strong, never let your other side get them to let their guard down. Never telegraph your moves. The war is actually won before it even starts, because you know what the end goal is and you know what you're going to need to do. And if the most powerful weapon in warfare is deception, and Trump faints weak, or faints vulnerability, or faints like, oh, shucks, golly, gee, beeve, and people expose themselves. The fact that he acted as if, he was just naive, and then they show themselves, and then boom, he hits them.
Yeah.
Both sides have to use deception. You can't go in a boxing ring and one guy go, you know what, go ahead and tie my left hand behind my back because I'm not going to use it.
Right.
I'm going to fight you with my one, while you hit me with direct shots and deception shots, and you're pounding me together with all of your arsenals. But because I'm an honest man and I'm a Christian, I can't lie or I can't use deception. So I'm going to unilaterally get rid of half of my ability to fight. How stupid why would you do that?
Yeah, no.
If we're in war and deception is the most powerful weapon, both sides have to use deception. Well, Trump's a liar. He didn't. Shut up.
Well, of course he is. It's deception.
it's and who's he deceiving? Is he deceiving it for the overall benefit of basically exposing evil so he can bring them out in the sunlight? He can bring the vampire out of the light. The light can shine on the silver bullet needs to hit the vampire to get rid of the vampire. If you don't think there's a vampire, then we don't need any heroes in this world.
Yeah.
If there are vampires, we need heroes.
Yeah.
And this is a multifaceted, global, one world government seeking beast system. And they've had 150 years to stitch together what they've stitched together. And everybody's like, it's been 8 years, Trump. What are you doing? Why? The whole world's against you, but it's been 8 years. And look, come on, I need you to get this shit done right now. And I'm not going to lift a finger, but if you don't do it on my timeline, I'm going to stab you in the back and call you every name I can think of.
That's right.
How about you're a moron?
Right. Yeah. And how about he's actually doing something about their biggest tool, their biggest weapon against us? Like we've been talking about this whole beginning of the show. What is he doing about money? Just watch what he does with money. And I know money's not the term, and currency, whatever it is. What I'm trying to say is, what has any politician ever talked about the stuff he talks about? No, they don't ever talk about the debt. They don't ever talk about fixing the debt. They don't ever talk about, what they're going to do, cut spending or any of those things. I know the big bill. I know he threw a bunch of money at it. But you look at when you give a businessman a bunch of money, look at what he does with it. That's how you judge the performance of a president. You do not judge a performance of a man's work by what the media told you he did.
Right.
Please, just at the end of his 3-4 years, you just let me know if your life isn't better. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. I know he really didn't make a big change in the first 4 years. He didn't. It didn't change everything in our lives. And I'm not saying that he can do that in 3 years either. But what I am saying is watch what he does to money, because it's happening right now before your eyes.
Well, I'm going to say that, Allan, it might not be visible, it might not be clear, and it may not be understood yet, but in 2020 hindsight, we're going to look back and say that when you're going to demolish a 100-year-old infrastructure, and you're going to pour a new foundation, and you're going to build a new twin towers, and they're going to be gorgeous and state of the art, and everybody's going to transition from the old to the new. The amount of time and effort it takes to prepare for the demolition, to prepare to stand the new system up, to expose the people, to open up the minds and get the capacity, let the people do all that they've done. He had to draw them out like poison out of the body. He became, I'm taking the slings and arrows. It's not me they're after, it's you. I'm just standing in the way. They had to attack him, prosecute him, try to arrest him, try to kill him, try to destroy him, try to defame try to set people up, try to unleash a pandemic, try to stage a fake insurrection, all the things that they did. He did so much to lead us to this point where now you look at his first 7 months in office and you go, there's no one in the history of the United States that spent 4 years that ever accomplished what he's done in the last 6 months. Period.
No.
Period. But he couldn't have done this 6 months unless he'd have done everything that he had done in the last 8 prior to this 6 months.
Yeah.
Including when he was not, quote unquote, in office, when AutoPen or whoever was behind the AutoPen was doing all the treachery that they were doing, which is treason in and of itself. And that's another whole show. But
yeah, it is.
You have to have 5 people involved in an AutoPen. If Biden didn't even know the AutoPens was being used and activated, then you got 4 or 5 people in a RICO conspiracy to commit treason to sign bills that they weren't elected to sign because the president didn't give them permission because he admitted he didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So if you had someone in the cockpit that we never hired to be in the cockpit, that's a problem.
Right.
Oh, that's a real problem.
Yeah. There's no higher level of corruption than that.
None. Yeah. So
Yeah.
all of this has to be exposed. before you can exterminate it and put the weed killer on the weeds. You got to see the weeds and find the weeds before you can spray the weed killer on them. And then you're ready for the new grass, you're
And
ready for the new.
And you have to disarm their tools. And
Yes.
the Fed is their tool. Well, in the city of London.
Was.
Yeah, it was. Well, we're working on that, aren't we?
Do people understand that how ironic that the Federal Reserve Chairman is going to be shown the exit and fired for cause for spending $2.5 billion on a monstrosity of a coliseum to the majesty of fake money? I guess the more you spend, the more that makes it legitimate.
I guess.
They spent $2 billion to build the Taj Mahal in India. They spent $2.5 billion to do these elaborate marbles and private elevators and gardens on the roof and restaurants and diners. It's the most idiotic over expenditure and abuse of power and authority and control ever. So I saw 2 hours ago, there's like 6 or 7 congressmen have gotten together and they're referring Jerome Powell to the Department of Justice for criminal acts. So the pressure is just getting more and more and more for Trump to fire him, and now he's going to be found for bad fiduciary responsibility and spending the taxpayers' money like an insane maniac. Sooner or later, this is all prepping the markets and prepping the people that this NGO figurehead of a foreign bank that's domiciled in the city of London is about to get axed. Yep. So markets, don't freak out and act surprised when he gets asked to go bye-bye, because, a day in the market without Jerome Powell is like called a Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, right. If he's on vacation to the market, there's no necessity to panic because this idiot is not there manipulating whatever he's manipulating. He's irrelevant and unnecessary.
Our interest rates don't even follow what he does. It's comical. The whole system is a series of, oh, that's broken. Well, let's change the rules to fix that problem immediately. There's no accountability. There never has been, and the whole thing is a Ponzi. And it's just, and I can't wait for the day that the plumber just won't he'll show up to your house and say, well, that's a shame that your toilet's overflowing. I'm just not going to take that US dollar anymore. What else have you got? It's like, what have you got? XRP? What I'll take something else, and I'll take anything else, or I'll take the treasury coin.
If you tap and pay my phone with some RLUSD, we're good to go. USDC, Bitcoin, XRP, but you want to give me the equivalent of X, and yeah, I'll take that. But no, the paper stuff, it's toilet paper.
It is. It's complete, and they know it, and it's just it's a shame. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but it's happening all around us. It's happening right now.
Allan, have we bored your audience enough?
I believe that we've wasted enough of their evening. It's good to see everybody in here. It's so much fun. I don't know why you and I haven't done this before. There's no excuse for it. Yeah. There's nobody I'd rather talk to be honest.
Oh, brother, I love our sessions, and I hear we're going to be spending some time together in a campground environment sort of thing. And at some time in the future, we'll talk about that, I guess, on another show. But I'm honored to be on your show, man. It's one of the very few on a single hand that I would like to be on. And so I appreciate you having me.
Well, that's a compliment coming from an incredible human being like yourself, sir. So I will take that. And thank you so much. I'm at this point in my journey of economist. I'm blown away at the amount of people that are in XRP and in crypto as a whole. The character and the knowledge of the global economic sphere is amazing to me. It's every day is an education in this space in which we live in. Yeah. And we thank God, because we start getting our age. It's like, well, wait a minute, lazy boy? No, No, there's so much news going on, and I've got to get with my boy Rob to figure out what's happening here, man. I love it. I love everything you do for us.
What's that old, beer commercial, stay hungry, my friend, I mean, stay curious. If we're not humble enough to stay curious and know that the more we learn, the more we know we don't know. And it's just a journey, and it's just amazing. It's like this curiosity drug, where you can always get a fix because you can always learn something new if you'll just allow yourself to keep your mind open and humble yourself enough to go, tell me more, teach me more. Now, wait a minute, and ask questions and not feel like somebody's going to call you a name because you ask a question. Heaven forbid Allan or Rob don't know everything. Heaven forbid.
But isn't it? I mean, I know you've experienced this a million times like I have. Like people 25 years old and they come up to you and they're like, Mr. Staple, I watch every show you've ever done. I just want to say, thank you so much for keeping me and helping me hang on, and all those moments and all those times that I thought about selling my coins. And it's like so humbling. Like, I got to tell this story real quick. There was I know this guy, he's 94 years old, and he taught his daughter about crypto. He taught his daughter about XRP, who happens to be, I don't know, I think she's 75. She's a fan of the show, right? Yeah. And so I talked to her. We exchanged phone number. I got to talk to this guy, right? So he's telling me the story. He fell off his roof. And 94.
Working on his roof. Right.
That's the kind of guy you're talking about here, right? Salt of the earth, just wonderful guy. And he said something to me, and it was, I'll never forget it. I know I've shared this with you, but it's so important. He said, Allan, do you know what you have that most I'm 65 years old. How many 65-year-old men don't have what you have? And I said, no, sir. What is that? And he said, you, sir, are relevant. Mm-hmm. And when he hit me with that, it was right between the eyes. I was like, oh my God, because we get older and our kids don't listen to us. And God help our wives, they shouldn't listen to us. They got their own life, right? But I mean, to have people come up to you, Rob, and I at a show and thank you, and they're 20 years old, and you're just like so humbled by this. It's so brilliant to see that. And this is another thing I got to say this real. I love the fact that we have 4 generations all at the same time are going to become financially wealthy. We're already spiritually wealthy, but right. Financially wealthy together.
Yeah.
How incredible. How incredible is that? Love that.
It goes to that question, Al. It's like, the philosophical question is, what would you do in your life if money was no objective, if no consequence, of no concern? What would you do with your life? And most people go, that's good. I never thought of that. Let me get back to you on that. Or I'd go on vacation, I'd run around the world, and I'd go, I'd buy a bunch of cars, or, some kind of consumption thing or vacation entertainment thing, but not necessarily. I'm not saying everyone, but the vast majority don't have a calling and a purpose. That's, there's an old saying that we used to teach all the time is, do you have an idea, or does the idea have you? And when the idea has you and it's a purpose, you'll never work another day in your life. You won't have a job. You'll have a calling and a purpose, and you'll work that purpose out of who you are and why you're here and what maybe your creative part of the jigsaw puzzle, the creator wants you to fulfill, but right. If we don't go seeking and searching what our ultimate purpose is, it's not going to, a coconut's not going to fall out of a tree and conk us on the head. And we're going to go, oh, that's it.
There it is.
You got to put some work and effort and time and thought, and you got to seek with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength to figure out, what is this whole damn thing about, this life thing? Why am I here? And what's my purpose? If I die tomorrow, what are they going to say about me? And, what really makes me happy? Is it my 19th collector car? or, probably not.
No, no, no. That's probably not it.
Yeah.
You are so blessed, and we are also blessed to have the desire to learn more, because it's expansive, and that's life right there, my friend.
Yeah.
And I know you love what you do because it's written all over you. Yeah.
Well, it makes every hour like a brand new vacation, because you have no idea where your mind is going to travel. If you're willing to travel anywhere, you can,
Right.
a phone can ring, a text can happen, a dog can bark, a neighbor can stop by, an XRP can go to $11. I mean,
Yeah.
anything, a court ruling can say, hey, we're going to hear your case. I mean, Dan Siciliano could, decide he's just, going to retire and take on a missionary job now, and
That'd be fun.
let the voice of the shareholders be heard.
Yeah.
Stranger miracles have happened, but I like to
Yeah.
think might be some conversations going on behind the scenes questioning, are we really going to hang all of our collective reputations out on this piece of shit lawsuit? Or are we going to find a way out?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they can't win on merit and truth and righteousness and law. They can
No.
only win by cheating and lying and
That's
subterfuge.
right.
That's the only
Yeah.
way this thing can continue to go.
That's right.
And I'm not being defamatory, or I'm not trying to character assassinate, but the old adage in trial is that the judge will advise the jury that if a person lies and is untruthful in their testimony, then they have the right to disregard all of their testimony, take none of it, right?
That's right.
If we've seen public attestations or emails or comments or statements that are contradictory and are inconsistent and or untruthful, then we as shareholders have the common law, common sense duty and responsibility to consider discounting everything he's ever said.
That's correct.
He's been dishonest about anything that he said.
Absolutely. We send people to prison for one sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Your
Yeah,
wife,
we do.
your wife knows that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. One sentence testimony can do it. So, yeah, when you've lied to me once, well, why would I trust the rest of your story?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And I don't take any glee and satisfaction over that. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the common decency and respect and the higher fiduciary responsibility to take care and entrust the care of other people's property, because you're in an elevated position and you abuse that position to not take care of our property, but try to harvest it for your own ill-gotten motives or undisclosed motives, and do it under the color of law. This is just no different than a color revolution, but it's happening within a corporation, but it's affecting people in 130 nations. And only a person that really has an inflated sense of self-esteem and love of self would think they can get away with this.
Yeah. Or a corrupt system that's supporting them, obviously.
But that person has to, the only way they can come to the conclusion that they can get away with this is they think they've got the system rigged. They've got all the right contacts and people in the right place is going to, take a little piece of the bounty along the way, and they can just grease everybody's, track along the way. And everybody, and again, I'm not trying to say that that's what's happening, going to happen, but a person that's done this rodeo before knows every part and piece of the rodeo and how to ride how to get on the track and on the horse and off the horse and win the trophy, right? They know how to play the game. They've done it before. And they don't expect anybody's going to do anything but throw rose petals at them and clap and applaud because they're so brilliant and they keep winning all the time. It's amazing how that guy keeps winning. It's like, well, not really. If you know how the game's set up and rigged, it's pretty obvious how he keeps winning.
Goldman Sachs went 5 years without a losing trade. Gee.
Wow.
Well, all right. We better let people get to bed or whatever they got to do here tonight. But Rob, it's such a pleasure. And this will clearly not be our last time, but we will be together in Florida in January, and we'll speak about that at another time. But there is an event coming up that I am holding that's going to be fantastic. And it's going to be friends and family of the XRP community. And it's going to be a blast. And you, sir, and I'm hoping are going to close the evening with a very touching and emotional 15, 20, 30 minutes together. So I'm really looking forward to that more than I am almost anything else about the show.
Brother,
So, Rob,
I can't wait to be there with you and your family and your son. And hopefully I can bring my wife and at least one, if not two of my daughters, and got college schedules to manage and all that kind of stuff. But really looking forward to it. Honored for the invite, brother.
Are you kidding me? You were first on my list. You knew that. Yeah, we talked about it in Vegas. So yeah, that's great. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get out of here and let you all get to enjoying your winnings today and checking it all out. Congratulations.
Maybe all wake up in the morning to a $4 XRP or something like that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Amen to that. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun. All right.